Today we'll be studying the poem Elegy written in a country churchyard. This poem was written in 1751 and it is a very long poem which consists of 29 plus 3, that is 32 stanzas of 128 lines. These 29 stanzas are actually the actual poem, and the last 3 stanzas makes the epitaph of the poet himself. Now, this poem is a meditative poem. It is a meditation on the unused human potential, the conditions of country life and mortality. It is one of the best known elegies in English language. It exhibits the gentle melancholy that is characteristic of the English poets of the graveyard school of 1740s and 50s. The graveyard school focused on death and bereavement. This elegy was first published in 1751, but Gray, however, began writing this poem in 1742, shortly after the death of his close friend, Richard West. An elegy, as we all know, is a poem which laments the dead. Or especially it's written about a famous person, but Gray's elegy is noteworthy in that it mourns the death not of great or famous people, but that of common men. The elegy opens with the narrator musing in a graveyard at the close of the day. Close of the day means in the evening. And then he speculates about the obscure lives of the villagers who lie buried and suggests that many may have been full of rich promise that was ultimately stunted by poverty or ignorance. This poem is believed to be written in the churchyard of Stokespoges, Buckinghamshire, which Gray visited very often and where he now lies buried. Now the first 3 stanzas, stanza number 1 to 3, sets the setting of the poem. Darkness pervades all over and the poet is alone in the churchyard. The mood evoked here in the opening scene is very meditative and tranquil and melancholic. Melancholic because the poet is sitting in the churchyard and he's serious and solemn, considering the idea of human life and death. Now, when he's sitting in the churchyard, all around him are the graves. He's sitting amongst the graves. And then when he's thinking about the graves, there are images of life interspersed with the evocation of the villagers in their graves. Now he's imagining that in these graves, those villagers are lying. And then in the stanzas from 4 to 7, the daily routine of the villagers is chronicled. That is, when he's thinking about the villagers, he's thinking what these people must be doing, what must be their routine. Like he says that in the paragraph number 4, he says that beneath the rugged elms and yew tree shade, where heaves the turf in many a moulding heap, each in his narrow cell forever laid, the rude forefathers of the hamlet sleep. Now he's thinking about the graves and he's imagining that the old forefathers of this village are sleeping. Then he's saying that now, since they are sleeping, no morning breeze call or no twittering of the swallows will wake them up. Not even a cock's shrill clarion or the echoing horn. No more shall rouse them from their lowly bed. Lowly bed is a very humble bed, that is the grave. These graves are very humble, and he's saying these village people, the forefathers of this village, they are now dead and nothing can awaken them. And now he says that no blazing hearth shall burn for them, or the busy housewife will think about them, or no children will go and tell their mother about the arrival of their father, and no children will come and climb the knees of the envied guest to share. Now in the next paragraph number 7, the poet describes the routine of the work which they did, the toils of the villagers, that they used to harvest to the sickle yield, their furrow off the stubborn glebe that broke. How jocund did they drive their team afield, how bowed the woods beneath their sturdy stroke. That is, they used to harvest the fields, they used to plow the fields, and they used to cut the woods in the forests with their sturdy stroke. Now, in these stanzas from 4 to 7, the daily routine of the villagers is chronicled, and he is describing their peaceful, happy life, calm, and very humble life. In stanzas from 8 to 11, the poet tells that ambition should not mock the humble and useful toil of the villagers. Now, in this paragraph number 6, ambition is personified. There are many personifications in this, even the grandeur is personified. He says, let not ambition mock their useful toil, their homely joys and destiny obscure. These people, you used to say that these people were not very ambitious and they were happy in their homely joys, that is very humble joys, and destiny obscure. Their destiny, their future laid obscure, that is, they could not imagine of a very stunning or a very bright future or destiny. Then he says, nor grandeur here with disdainful smile the short and simple annals of the poor. He says that grandeur is shano shokat, all the extravagance and all the pomp and show. So he said that grandeur is personified here. Grandeur should not hear with disdainful smile. Disdainful, that when you look down upon people, that is normally these city people, they tend to look down upon the village folks. So he says that grandeur should not hear with a disdainful smile the short and simple annals of the poor. Annals of the anecdotes that poor people or the villagers, they will narrate the stories of their simple lives. It's not going to be a very of a historical event or big things. So they have these simple joys, simple life, simple stories, everything simple. So he says that in paragraphs 4 to 7, the daily routine of the villagers is chronicled. They lead a simple life. There is no complication or complicity in their lives. They live in obscurity and do not have stunning lives which are celebrated by others. But the poet says in paras 8 to 11 that ambition should not mock their humble and useful toil. The poet implicitly says that people in the city tend to look down upon people in the countryside. This pride in the life of the city, the poet does not endorse at all. Now in the next part he says that grand memorials are not necessary for the dead, but those who are dead are dead. Nothing can awaken them from their graves. Now in paragraph 11 reads, can storied urn or animated bust back to its mansion called the fleeting breath? Can honor's voice provoke the silent dust, or flattery soothe the dull cold ear of death? Now, here in these lines, the poet is saying that even if you keep can the storied urn is actually a kalash. It's that in which we used to keep the ashes of the dead. Urns are normally those big pots in which the ashes of the dead, especially the royalty and all those, the ashes of those famous people or the kings or the royalty are kept. He says, can the storied urn, the urn which is very beautifully carved, on which the stories are carved by painting or engraved, can this bring back the life of that person whose ashes are kept in that? Or animated bust. Animated bust is the statue of burst size, which seems like the animated, that as if the life has been infused in that bust. That is, you have the statues, the lifelike statues you have. We see that of statues of Mahatma Gandhi or Indira Gandhi, we find at the circles, and the circles or the places are named after them. He says that all this animated bust, can they bring back life, or can they bring back the persons back to their lives? Back to his mention called the fleeting breath. Fleeting breath is here, it's talking about the breath that is gone away, that is the soul which is dead, soul which has parted from the body. Can it be called again? Can it be called back? Can honor's voice provoke the silent dust? That however honored these people must be, whether they are president or whether they are rulers or a great, either it's a musician or a great historian or anyone, can they provoke the silent dust? That however much you may honor them, but that honor and all these respects which you give them, it is not going to bring back that person to life. Or flattery soothe the dull cold ear of death. Says that flattery, however much you may flatter death, but death is not going to leave you. If once death is decided, here death is actually personified. He says when death comes, death will take you away. And no matter how much you may flatter, how much you may plead, death is not going to leave you. So, this paragraph says that what is the point of creating all these monuments or all these memorials? Because these memorials are not necessary for the dead. For those who are dead. Nothing can awaken them from their graves. And there is a reminder that paths of glory lead but to the grave. So this poem is also about the inevitability and finality of death. Now, especially this line in stanza 9, it says that boast of heraldry, the pomp of power, and all that beauty and all that wealth ever gave, waits alike the inevitable hour. And the paths of glory lead but to the grave. He says that however renowned you are, however pompous you are of the power, however beautiful you are, all that beauty and all that wealth ever gave, however rich you are, whatever possessions you may have, awaits alike the inevitable hour. The inevitable hour. Inevitable means that which cannot be ignored, which will happen. It is going to happen. Nothing can change it. Inevitable, that is avashambhavi. That this inevitable hour, it will come that once you are born, then you will have to die. It is not that you will remain alive forever and forever. He says that everyone waits alike this inevitable hour. That is whether you are rich, whether you are powerful, whether you are beautiful, whether you are very wealthy and possessions many things, whether you are of a very royal family or a big family, or you are a big other politician or anyone, but one will have to die, because the paths of glory lead but to the grave. The path, everyone's path of life, they have one common path. Everyone has one common path, and that common path leads us to the grave. Grave means to death. It is not necessary that everyone goes to the grave. Like Hindus, they are cremated, so they don't go to the graves. But the word grave here indicates death. So everyone will have to die. So this poem says that the paths of glory lead but to the grave. So this poem is also about the inevitability and finality of death. It is a very long poem, and I think we will take in short parts of it. So today I'm taking only till stanzas from 1 to 11, and in my next session I will do another 10 stanzas. Until then, you read the poem, that is stanzas from 1 to 11. I'm just giving you a brief gist of these stanzas. Otherwise, we will, in the last lecture on this poem, we will be discussing all the stylistics and the structure of the poem. The poem, which is written in heroic quatrains, and then it is of 4 lines each, and rhyme scheme is also A B, the pattern that we will learn in the last session of this poem. First, I just want to give you the content of this poem. I want you to know what this poem is about, and then we will also be doing the figurative speeches, figurative language, and we know the all these figures of speech of this poem, which actually it has a lot of figure of speech. Like in first paragraph, you have transferred epithet, you have alliteration, and mostly the personifications. You have a number of personifications in this poem. So first I would like you to read the poem, and then later we will pick out all the figures of speech and personifications and rhyme scheme and all that we will do. So this is for today, and in my next session, before we have done 11 stanzas today. Now you should read at least 11 stanzas and try to understand what this poet says. Whatever I have told you in this poem, do you relate? Do you understand what we have learned here? So you will have to read the poem yourself and then try to make out that the notes which I've given you, or which I have the things which I've taught you, is it intelligible to you? So that's all for today. Thank you.